Then I go to part 2. Yes, Sheshopati.
When one is advancing how does one know to endeavor to follow
when to endeavor? What?
To follow in the footsteps of the residents of the valley.
First of all, while we are rendering service under the direction of the spiritual master, that's the beginning. Then the understanding is that the spiritual master is an associate of Krishna in Vrindavan. Although his identity is not revealed to us, but that understanding is there that we are rendering service under. And the mainstay in spiritual life actually is this spiritual master. And then by the mercy of the spiritual master, as we make advancement, things dawn in our hearts. Unlike the Sahajiyas, some Sahajiya groups, we do not encourage that practice of, like our Siddha Sarup, this is our identity and so on and so forth. On the other hand, we simply take a rather back seat and wait for the time to come when the spiritual master will reveal the identity, reveal our identity himself. And regarding that, I remember very vividly one incident when Srila Prabhupada was in Mayapur in 1977, around the Gaur Purnima festival. One devotee actually asked Prabhupada. He's an Indian devotee who was living outside, and he asked Prabhupada what was his sarup, what was his spiritual identity. And Prabhupada got very angry with him. He kept on chastising him. And then after a while, Prabhupada, after chastising him considerably, Prabhupada told him, don't worry about your sarup. When the time comes, I will personally come and reveal your sarup to you. So from that, it becomes very clear that when the time is ripe, when we become qualified, when we become eligible, then Prabhupada will personally come and reveal our identity. Till then, we keep on rendering service under the direction of the spiritual master. And the previous acharyas, they all are actually associates of Krishna in Vrindavan. So there is no difficulty whatsoever in rendering service under the direction of her. As they say, Gopir Anugatta, taking shelter of a resident of Vrindavan. Yes.
You mentioned that the Pandavas, their relationship with Krishna, their friendship, Conjugal.
When did I say that?
So because he was with the gopis always.
Yeah. Yeah. No, Uddhava's relationship is not exactly conjugal. Uddhava's is friendship. In Vrindavan, although the central theme is conjugal, but the other mellows are supporting. The other mellows means mainly parental and friendship. Just as a gem is fitted in a ring, similarly the other mellows are actually supporting conjugal. And there is actually, from one understanding, in Vrindavan there is no Shantorash and Dasharash. Very little Dasharash, but no Shantorash. Even those who appear to be in Shantorash, like trees and creepers and plants, rivers, land, cows, they are not in Shantorash. They are mostly in Shakharash and parental. Like, for example, the cows there are in parental mellow. The trees are mostly either in friendship or parental. Land, Jamuna is in friendship. River is in friendship. In this way, like Govardhan is in friendship. So in this way, although apparently they appear to be in Shantaras, in more neutrality, but there is no neutrality. And Uddhava was not. He became attracted to conjugal, or rather the Gopi's love for Krishna, but his own mellow towards Krishna was not conjugal. As a creeper, he still maintained his friendship with Krishna. It's a mixture of kind of friendship and servitorship. Yes.
It is said that now the Muni has about 8 identities. They always playing with Krishna and Maharaja. Now, is Uddhava also having about 8 identities?
About?
Identities, like he's a friend of Krishna, the most intimate, and he is a creeper. And does he have other identities also, which can reveal
Well, I mean, at least here we get 2 identities of Uddhava. In Dwarka, he is Uddhav, and in Vrindavan, he is a creeper.
I wonder about this creeper. This is for me. I cannot get any ecstasy of being a creeper because I would like to talk and sing and dance with Krishna. And so I wonder what is the consciousness of such a creeper when he cannot talk.
Yeah. So here you have to understand the difference between material consciousness and spiritual consciousness. Material consciousness is what I want. And the spiritual consciousness is what Krishna wants. Right? Now because you are, forgive my saying so, in a material consciousness, you want the highest position with Krishna. As I was explaining the other day, like there is no end to that consciousness. I want to be the best. That's the material consciousness, isn't it? That, well, of the associates of Krishna, I want to be the gopis, because the gopis are the best. And then when you become a gopi, you won't be satisfied. You will think, why just one gopi? No, I actually want to be Radharani. Right? And then Radharani will be in trouble. If you harbor that kind of mentality in Vrindavan. So, you see, in the material consciousness one feels like that. And our previous acharyas actually criticized and rejected that consciousness. That's the reason why, our sampradaya do not actually accept Mirabai. At least till certain stage, till she was initiated by Jiva Goswami and changed her consciousness. Because we don't recognize those songs of Mira. Mere to giridhare or dusra na koi. Only me and Giridhari and no one else. Radharani is gone, Lalita Vishaka pushed out, and just me and Krishna. Right? Okay.
I have a book here, and it contains most of the songs of Mirabai. And there are at least 10 or 15 songs. I can show them to you. And they all praise the Guru. They all praise the spiritual master. Mirabai is lost without her Guru. Mirabai, I am lost without my spiritual master. This is really a wrong concept many have of the devotees of Mirabai.
That's why I said at least those songs. You see, Mirabai had a change of consciousness. You see, fine, okay, good. So that's why I specifically said, like at least certain songs that says me and Giridhari and no one else, those songs we do not accept. The other songs that are bona fide, as I said, like there was a change in her consciousness. So those songs are nothing wrong with them. Okay, now let's go back to the point, right? So, but in spiritual consciousness, we just try to get tuned up to Krishna's consciousness. What's the meaning of Krishna consciousness? Krishna consciousness means to get tuned up to Krishna's consciousness. That means no more separate consciousness other than Krishna's. And as we develop that consciousness, then there is no room for thinking what I want. Then the consciousness is what Krishna wants. So now, if Krishna, in that consciousness, if Krishna wants you to speak of a blade of grass, if Krishna wants to become a speck of dust in Vrindavan, what will you tell him? You'll say, Krishna, whatever you want. And for your information, even a speck of dust in Vrindavan dances with Krishna. As Krishna steps, the bhumi starts to sway. Land starts to sway. As Krishna jumps into Jamuna, the waves rush towards Krishna to embrace him. That's why in Vrindavan everyone is ecstatic. There is no such neutrality or static state of existence in Vrindavan. Everyone is ecstatic. And one thing also I can assure you, that in that consciousness, you'll become perfectly happy. You'll be blissful. You'll become ecstatic. Yes?
So in the Maharaj, yesterday in his Swami's Krishna book reading, we came across reference clearing up that point in our mind when Krishna replaced the stone carved boys and cows. Then that was to give also the cows the chance to feed their milk to Krishna in the form of the cows. That was mentioned in the Prabhupada mentions it. And that actually removes the doubt that when you become a Kripa or a cow, let's say, who wants to be a cow, one puts things like that. But Krishna
again, no one wants to be a cow in Vrindavan. Right. Everyone just is tuned up to what Krishna wants.
Right. But even then Krishna, he reciprocated perfectly by taking up the shape of the cow, and then the cows could feed them.
Another consideration here is, consider that even though we are in material consciousness, Krishna is with us. Isn't it? As the super soul, Krishna is with us. Right? So if we become elevated to spiritual consciousness, will Krishna not be with us? Will Krishna not reciprocate our Krishna conscious desires? So that in the spiritual platform, everyone is perfectly situated. So now, the second part of Brihad Bhagavatamrta, which is known as Uttar Vibhag, or final section, preliminary section of Brihad Bhagavatamrta, and the final section of Brihad Bhagavatamrta. This part is known as Glory of Golok. Chapter 1 is known as Viragya, or detachment. Janmejaya's inquiry about the discussion between Mother Uttara and Parikshit Maharaj. Janmejaya inquired from whom? Jaimini. Said Jaimini. What happened then between Parikshit Maharaj and his mother, Uttara Devi? Actually, Uttara Devi asked that question to Parikshit. Parikshit, from this description I can understand that the position of these gopis are very, very elevated. Now tell me, where is their place in the spiritual sky? Now if you say that all are going to Vaikuntha, then it would seem like all are kind of lumped together. Now these gopis who have such exclusive love for Krishna, where do they actually stay? Where is their position in the spiritual sky? Now, in order to establish that point, Parikshit Maharaj is narrating the story of Gop Kumar. Story of Gop Kumar actually begins with, there was a Brahmin in a land called Prag Jyotishpur. Prag Jyotishpur means today's Assam. In the eastern part of India, there is Bengal, and further east of Bengal, northeast of Bengal is the land of Assam. So there was a Brahmin in Assam who was a devotee of Kamakha Devi. Kamakha Devi is another name of Durga. Kam Akha, the personification of lust. That is Durga, and one form of Durga. And that place where the temple is called Kamrup. Kamrup is the form of lust. That land, the temple is still there in Kamrup, the temple of Kamakhya, and a lot of tantric things go on there. So anyway, so this Brahmana used to worship Kamakha Devi very sincerely, with a lot of respect and faith, in order to get material wealth. Here his worshipping of the Devi was motivated by material desire. So this way also we can see that generally those who worship these demigods, they are actually motivated. But also here another point is made, in course of time we will notice it, that although he was worshipping Kamakha Devi with material desire, but he actually developed spiritual benefit out of it. Because Kamakha Devi one night gave him the mantra, 10-syllable mantra, in a dream. So this also confirms one thing, that if one receives the mantra from a bona fide source, even in a dream, that mantra will have its potency. But of course, the fulfillment of the mantra will take place from the direction of the Shiksha Guru. So this Brahmana came across Gop Kumar in Vrindavan, who actually acted as his guru, spiritual master. When Uttara asked Parikshit Maharaj such a valid question, such a nice question, Parikshit Maharaj became very pleased. Now here we can notice one thing, that the Vedic scriptures are, especially the Puranas and even the Upanishads, they are actually conversations, discussions between two parties. One person inquires and the other person replies. All throughout the Puranas you will find is just a dialogue. Somebody is questioning and some other qualified person is answering. For example, in Bhagavatam, you have seen Bhagavatam is mainly a discussion between Shaunaka is asking questions and Sutta Goswami replying. And then there is a discussions between Shukadev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj. And then we have Maitreya Rishi and Uddhava and also Nimi and Navajogendra, Shiva and Prachetas. So in this way there are often their dialogues, and Shiva and Parvati. So these are all, the entire philosophy has been presented through this kind of dialogues. And that's why it's so interesting. And the questions are so pertinent. In Bhagavad Gita also we see questions by Arjuna were answered by Krishna. That's Bhagavad Gita. So here Parikshit Maharaj is answering the questions of Uttara. Now when a person comes across a very good question, then he becomes happy. When the speaker comes across, like when you give a Bhagavatam class and at the end of the class, somebody asks a nice question, you feel very happy about it. You feel that this is a wonderful chance to elaborate the point. So Parikshit Maharaj became very happy when Uttara asked a question like that. Like you pointed out the most elevated position of the gopis. Now where do they actually reside? What is their abode in the spiritual sky? Where are they situated in the spiritual sky? Then Parikshit Maharaj started to tell the story, describe the story of the Brahmana from Prag Jyotishpur. Prag Jyotishpur. For the sake of convenience, you can hyphenate this. Like after Prague, you can put a hyphen. Prag Jyotishpur. That Brahmana received the 10-syllable Gopal mantra from Kamakha Devi. Due to chanting that mantra, he became detached from material attachments and developed firm faith in chanting of the mantra. So this is the potency of the mantra. When the mantra is chanted, even at a clearing stage, one becomes free from material desire. The Brahmana, his faith was strong, although he was motivated, but inwardly he was a simple-hearted person. He was non-envious, so he benefited from chanting the mantra and became free. The mantras are not just spoken out like that in a class. Mantras are given by the spiritual master. So, excepting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, the other mantras are not broadcasted. And one thing is that this is not the mantra in our line. The mantra in our line is 18 syllables mantra and Kam Gayatri. So, 10-syllable mantra is not our mantra. This Brahmana left home after he became considerably detached from all material attachments. He left home and went to Ganga Sagar. That's correct the spelling. Gangasagar. You know where Ganga Sagar is? Ganga Sagar is where the Ganges is meeting the ocean. Ganga Sagar. Sagar means ocean, and Ganga, the confluence between ocean and the Ganges. And that is the place where Kapil Muni resides. Kapil Muni's ashram is there. And it is said that from that point, Ganga actually goes down. Ganga doesn't mingle with the ocean as such. Ganga dives down from Earth planet. She goes to the lower planetary system. And there in Rasatala, Kapil Muni's ashram. It's near Calcutta. So in Ganga Sagar, he met some Brahmanas who were performing fruitive activities. He tried that for a while, but lost interest. So here we are seeing that how he is also climbing step by step to the spiritual platform. He saw some Brahmanas, they were involved in fruitive activities. He was not interested. And in the beginning, he got involved because this Brahman is simple. He was uneducated, illiterate. He didn't have any knowledge about the scriptures. But all he had is firm faith in the mantra that he received from Kamakha Devi. And he just used to chant the mantra. So because he was innocent, he became interested. Wherever he went, he became interested in those activities. When he saw some Brahmanas involved in fruitive activities, he became interested and he got involved. But then he left it. Then he went to Kashi. Kashi is Benares. Kashi is the place for Mayavadi. Kashi is actually the Tirtha of Lord Shiva. Varanasi is the place of Lord Shiva. And the Mayavadis are naturally attached to Lord Shiva. That's why they generally stay in Kashi. where he met some sannyasis who were endeavoring for liberation. So what kind of sannyasis endeavor for liberation? Mayavadi. He also became interested in impersonal liberation. So seeing them, he also became interested in impersonal liberation. But due to his respect and attachment for Kamakha Devi, he did not give up chanting the mantra. One night in a dream, he saw the Lord, who was indicated by the mantra. Who was the Lord who was indicated by the mantra? Gopal. It's a Gopal mantra. So another night, Sri Madhav appeared to him in a dream and instructed him to go to Mathura. On the way to, actually Lord Shiva and Parvati appeared to him also. And they chastised him. He said, just get out of here. And he said, don't waste your time with this Mayavadi. Because they will simply destroy your devotional Kripa. Your spiritual life will be finished. Even Lord Shiva doesn't want that the devotees of the Lord should become involved in Mayavadi. Oh, this is Mahadev. Mahadev appeared to him along with Parvati and bestowed their mercy upon him and instructed him to go to Mathura. On the way to Mathura, he stopped at Prayag, and there he saw many saintly persons were worshipping Sri Vishnu. In his discussion with the Vaishnavas there, he received instructions on one's worshipable deities as Madhava's instruction to go to Mathura. Worshipable deities and Madhava's instruction to go to Mathura immediately. Yet here it is Madhava. Previously it was Mahadev. Previous chapter. So, actually when he went to Prayag, Prayag is the confluence of Ganges, Jamuna and Saraswati. So he saw on the occasion of Magh Mela, Maghi Purnima, the full moon of month of Magh, many devotees assembled there. And they were worshipping different deities. And some were dancing, some were Magh, the Lord is Bindu Madhava. Madhava is Krishna. Then they also explained that they have different worshipable deities, but actually it's the same personality. Some are worshipping Varaha, some are worshipping Nrsingadev, some are worshipping Narayan, some are worshipping Krishna. But actually he is the same Supreme Personality of Godhead. And these are, his deities are his vibhuti, or his expansion, his opulence. So Madhav instructed him to go to Mathura immediately. Then when the Brahmana went to Mathura, he first went to Mathura and then he took bath in Vishram Ghat on Jamuna. This is the custom. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also took his bath as he arrived in Mathura in Vishram Ghat. Vishram Ghat means the place of the taking rest, resting place. After those days, people had to walk from great distance. And then after walking, they used to arrive in Mathura. And then there they used to take rest. Now finally they reached the destination. So they used to take rest, take bath in Jamuna, and then they used to go to. He went to Mathura and then he went to Vrindavan. So when he was in Vrindavan, in one forest, he heard that someone was crying, someone was sobbing very painfully, as if his heart was breaking. So he became curious and he went into the forest, inside the forest, and there he actually met this person. He heard the cry on the eastern side of Keshi Ghat and entered into the Kadamba Grove. There he saw Gop Kumar. He saw Gop Kumar was crying, and at first he mistook Gop Kumar to be Krishna. Gop Kumar is a cowherd boy. He offered him obeisances and inquired from him about the goal of life and how he could attain that. In reply, Gop Kumar told him that the ultimate goal can be attained by Sri Nam Sankirtan. by the congregational chanting of the holy name of the Lord, the ultimate goal of life can be achieved. And in order to convince him, he began to narrate to him his own life story. Gopkumar, in order to teach him, started to tell his own life story. And he started to tell him that he was a cowherd boy from Vrindavan. He was born in Govardhan, in a cowherd family. He received the 10-syllable mantra from a great devotee of Krishna. Actually, these chapters are quite long, so I just made it very compact. Okay, let me just tell you the story of Gopkumar. Gopkumar was a cowherd boy in Vrindavan. And like other cowherd boys, he used to tend the cows every day. So one day, and then while tending the cows, Gopkumar used to see one Brahman who apparently appeared to be like a madman. Because sometimes he used to cry, sometimes he used to laugh very loudly, and sometimes they would see him dancing in ecstasy, dancing like a madman. And sometimes they would even see him rolling on the ground and his whole mouth is frothing. And although this man's behavior was quite unpredictable, but the man was very affectionate towards the cowherd boys. And the cowherd boys also were very respectful towards him. There was a very intense, loving relationship between this man and the cowherd boys. Whenever he would see the cowherd boys, he would embrace them and show his great affection for them. And the cowherd boys would give him some milk or other milk products. And one day, Gopkumar was alone in the forest on the bank of Jamuna. I think it was near Keshighat. That when Gopkumar met this man, and then the man told him, "You go take your bath in Jamuna, and I will give you the mantra." And so Gopkumar came back after taking his bath very obediently, and then this Brahmana gave him the mantra, the 10-syllable Gopal mantra, and he told him that treat this mantra as the most precious object, Mahanidhi, the most valuable jewel. And then he started to explain different aspects of mantra, like mudra, nash, dhyan, etc. And while he was explaining the mantra to him, he fainted in ecstasy. Due to his remembrance of Krishna, this guru of Gopkumar fainted while explaining the mantra. And then as he came back to his senses, he just got up and walked away. Since the spiritual master told Gopkumar that this mantra is the most precious gem, the most precious jewel, therefore he started to treat the mantra with great care and great respect. And he used to chant the mantra according to the instruction of the spiritual master. And as he started to chant the mantra, he started to lose interest for other things. He felt that he didn't like to play with the cowherd boys anymore. He didn't even like to tend the cows in the forest anymore. All he wanted to do, all he liked to do is sit at one place and chant the mantra. And in this way, Gopkumar lost interest to be with the cowherd boys or be in Vrindavan. He actually thought that that surrounding and all his acquaintances and relatives were causing and creating an impediment to his chanting the mantra. So he wanted to go away to some place where he could chant the mantra without any disturbance. So he just left home and started to wander around. Then one day he came across a Brahmana. Due to the chanting of the mantra, his heart became purified and he felt a tremendous attraction for his worshipable Lord and left home. He saw a Brahmana worshipping a Shalagram Shila on the bank of the Ganges. Due to the Brahmana's instruction, so when Gopkumar saw that the Brahmana was worshipping the Shalagram Shila, he became curious. He said, "Who are you worshipping?" So the Brahmana said, "Oh, this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead." He showed the Shaligram Shila and said, "This is the Supreme Personality of Godhead." And so Gopkumar sat there and started watching the Brahmana worshipping the Shaligram Shila. And then after worshipping, the Brahmana put the Shaligram Shila on a small box and closed the box. When Gopkumar saw that, he felt very bad. He started to cry. See, he kept the Supreme Personality of Godhead in a small little box like that. What will happen if the Lord feels hungry? Then how will anyone get to know that he is feeling hungry? Or he can't even take rest properly in the small little box. So then the Brahman felt very guilty. He told Gopkumar, "Look, I'm just a poor Brahmin. I do not have the means to worship the Lord in great pomp and grandeur. But if you really want to see such worship, then go to the capital of nearby king. And there, the king is worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the most gorgeous way." So hearing that, Gopkumar went to the king's capital. And there he saw in the deity, the Lord was being worshipped in the most wonderful way. They are offering so many varieties of food to the Lord. And after that, there is a beautiful aratik of the Lord. And devotees were chanting and dancing in front of him with the hands raised upward. And the Lord, with unblinking eyes, is watching them. The Lord was watching them, and and one could see how happy he was from the beautiful smile on his face, seeing his devotee glorifying himself like that. So Gopkumar started to stay there in the temple. The whole day he used to stay in the temple, watching the Lord, seeing the Lord's transcendental form. And sometimes he used to get some Mahaprasad, and that was enough for him to eat. And then at night he would just crash out in some corner of the temple. So in this way he was staying there. The king actually didn't have any offspring. So the king wanted to accept a son. And the ministers, when went looking for a appropriate person for the king to accept as his son and the successor to the throne, they found all the auspicious marks in the body of Gopkumar. And the king accepted Gopkumar as his son. So Gopkumar became the prince. And then after the king died, Gopkumar became the king of the country. Now as a king, he did not indulge in any materialistic enjoyment. He was always absorbed in promoting the worship of the Lord and propagating the glory of the Lord. And he took it upon himself that it was his duty to educate his citizens with Krishna consciousness and make them into devotees. But the Gopkumar, after being king, he noticed that some people were not actually offering respect to the prasadam of the Lord because they were considering if the prasadam has been touched by some untouchable person and so on and so forth, then they would reject, they would not honor the prasad, they would throw the prasad away. So he used to feel very bad about that. So one day some pilgrims came there to his kingdom, and from those pilgrims he got to know about Lord Jagannath on the bank of the saltwater ocean on a mountain called Niladri, so where the Lord is very mercifully distributing prasad to anybody and everybody. And there is no consideration of prasad becoming contaminated. So the Brahmana wanted to go there. So he kept the kingdom left his kingdom in the custody of the ministers and other relatives, and he left his kingdom and went to Jagannath Puri. So when he was in Jagannath Puri, there also he was spending his time in the temple, having the darshan of Lord Jagannath. And the darshan of Jagannath was very, very ecstatic. Jagannath's eyes are mercifully glancing at his devotees, and through that glance he is showering all his mercy upon his devotees. So Gop Kumar became very happy to have the darshan of Lord Jagannath. Yeah, after the king died, the first son of the king did not want to be the king. So the ministers got Gop Kumar to become the king, and he became the king of Jagannath Puri. And as a king, he started to take care of Lord Jagannath. Very nice. And yeah, okay. I'll just read the last paragraph. He was serving Lord Jagannath personally. Then one day in Jagannath temple, he saw his spiritual master. And his spiritual master, he saw him looking at Lord Jagannath. And then he also started to look at Lord Jagannath. But then when he looked back to find out whether his spiritual master was still there, he saw that the spiritual master already gone. And then one day he found his spiritual master on the bank of the ocean, dancing in ecstasy. So he offered obeisances to the spiritual master. Then the spiritual master instructed him further on chanting of the mantra. He saw his spiritual master on the bank of the ocean, and he received further instructions about chanting of the mantra. He became the king of that country and improved the standard of worship. Due to his involvement in ruling the kingdom, he felt discontentment in his mind. In a dream, he received instruction from Lord Jagannath to return to Mathura. So Lord Jagannath appeared to him in a dream, and Lord Jagannath told, actually he used to miss Vrindavan. Gop Kumar used to miss Vrindavan. So one night Jagannath appeared to him in a dream and told him that if you want to go to Mathura, there is no harm, because Mathura is my birthplace. So Mathura, this place is not different from Mathura. So you can go and serve me in Mathura also. If your heart is there, then I'll suggest you go there. And then the next morning, the pujari from the temple came with the Aggamala, with the garland. And Gop Kumar considered that this was a confirmation of Jagannath's instruction to him the night before, that the Lord sent his mala. And then he went back to Mathura. Gop Kumar went back to Mathura. So, thus ends the first chapter of the second part of Brihad Bhagavatamrta. Does anybody have any question?
We hear that Brihad persons in the previous lifetime they bring break devotees. So now they're taking with them the idea, at least that I feel, certainly, is that at the end of this lifetime, if they haven't committed offences in this lifetime, that's right. If they have committed offences, then they take birth as animals in the next life. And then as animals, they can't commit offences. They know that. And here we see that Gopal Kumar, he's going through the procedure of accepting the spiritual life, becoming a disciple. Then he leaves Brihad and goes various spaces. So I was wondering if you could comment on that. What is really the situation?
I don't really know. But here is we have to understand that although the Brajvasis may go back to Godhead directly, just being born in Vrindavan and living in Vrindavan and dying in Vrindavan. Because dying in Vrindavan is very important. One may be born in Vrindavan, but if he dies outside, then he won't go back to Godhead as such. So, yeah, one may go back like that just by being born in Vrindavan. But here Sanatana Goswami is narrating this story to establish certain points. Right? Therefore, he is telling the story of Gopkumar, who actually got initiated by a spiritual master and gone through different phases of his life, different phases of devotional service before he went back to Gopkumar. As I said, like Sanatana Goswami's writing is not going to be fiction. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he actually mentioned that we have to understand that these things have happened, if not in this kalpa, then in some other kalpa. Somewhere it happened, sometimes it must have happened. And now that incident is dawning in the heart of a pure devotee. Like Bhaktivinoda Thakur is not writing a fiction, but he is actually narrating the story of somebody from the past. That somebody may even be himself. Maybe in some life that was what happened to that. No, it's not. It's most unlikely that this is Sanatana Goswami himself, because we can see that the Gopkumar's melo was Sakhya, whereas Sanatana Goswami's melo is conjugal. So, any other question?
In the last class, the recipient of complete mercy, Rohini was allowed there.
Rohini was allowed there. I mentioned it yesterday. Rohini was allowed to go there because, you see, Rohini Devi was in Vrindavan when Krishna was there. Now, if Krishna saw Mother Rohini, Krishna would not become suspicious, right? But if Krishna saw Devaki after he woke up, the idea was to make Krishna feel as if he is back in Vrindavan, right? So, seeing Rohini would be all right, but if Krishna saw someone else like Rukmini Devi or Devaki or Padavati or Satyabhama, then Krishna might have wondered what happened. I mean, why? How come they are here? But if he saw Rohini, he would accept it as normal, because Rohini was in Vrindavan. Previous Kali Yuga. Why is that? Because Nam Sankirtan. You see, Nam Sankirtan is eternal. The pure devotees of Krishna, those who are aware of the melo of Vrindavan, they always chant Nam Sankirtan. But in this age, the holy name has been available to anybody and everybody, which was not the case in other ages. Okay? Okay, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.